All right, welcome back to Metropole Television. This is the Economic Review. This is Business AM. All right, we are joined by Owanga Omega this morning as we tell you exactly what is the biggest issue in the economy as we do know of it this morning. All right, now we start the show by telling you that yes, we have recorded one recovery, but at the same time again, we have recorded the first death of the COVID-19 pandemic on a time where we say that our total infections have been 31, and then we have one fatality now, a 66-year-old man who they say had other pre-existing conditions. Shows you exactly how tough or how heavy this pandemic is. On that front again, today marked the first day, therefore, when the 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. curfew started. And it also marked the day when the public transport sector players say they're going to increase their fares by 60% and also reduce the number of matatus on the road until the government comes in to cushion them from the prices of fuel. Now, that's where we start from this morning. And I just want us to go into the first issue this morning. Now, Joe, if you can actually help me get it there so we can actually see what it is that we're talking about. But Ogonga, I just want us to start from that side now. Yes, we have one fatality. We have 31 infections. And we do know that more people are also now under observation. Did you think, therefore, that yes, the curfew comes at the right time, therefore, for us to start to try and get in front of the curve now?
I think we need to coin other wording.
Yes.
Curfew is a little negative. It has a negative connotation to it.
Yes.
Curfew is primarily criminal. You know, I wish we had an alternative word for curfew.
Yes.
You know, curfew is criminal.
Yes.
Curfew is when we are limiting you.
Yes.
Because of other factors. But that notwithstanding, it is high time we put in place mechanisms that will help us to limit or even to restrain how this pandemic is infecting people, the way it's moving.
Yes.
So I think it's very much in order, though curfew, wording notwithstanding, we need to restrain movement.
Yes.
Whichever angle you look at it from, we really need to restrain movement. Yes, Simba.
All right, I just want to take you back, therefore, to the measures that we're talking about this morning. And I just want to start from a very critical angle before even we come here, therefore, and talk about it.
Okay.
Good. Now, Richie, if you're ready with the story for the two House speakers who already take a break, I just want us to have a look at it, then really ask Owanga Omega what he thinks about it. Now, they're saying, look, we're going to take a pay cut.
Okay.
And they're saying they're going to take a 30% pay cut.
Okay.
And this was a move that was started also the other day by the president and deputy, who said they're going to take an 80% pay cut. Also asking CSs and permanent secretaries in these big offices to take pay cuts that are supposed to go towards fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Richie, are you ready? Fantastic. Give us the story. Fantastic. Now, that is what we've seen that has been synonymous among the top leaders within the economy, saying that, well, we do understand that we also have to be part and parcel of this COVID-19 pandemic, and especially the economy, and we can't continue taking our full paychecks home. We have to take that cut and then have these funds go straight to the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. A good step?
Yeah, it is a good step.
But they haven't told us on exactly where these funds are going.
It's just the people have a pity for is the president and his deputy. In 2012, the president took a 20% cut, which left him with 80%. So
I actually remember that.
you know, so
Actually,
now the president is serving without a salary.
is that why? Robert, that's what he said.
Of course, if you're already given 20, and now you're also volunteering the remaining
80%.
So I don't know if
That's it. We're not.
So I don't know if it's 80% of the 80 or 80% that is remaining.
That was actually announced, wasn't it?
And it was never, he never recollected it. So the president is actually now without a salary.
I'm the deputy.
And the deputy, no wonder we have not been seeing the deputy in public because
Can't walk around with all your plates.
you can't walk around cashless. Anyway, so
Well, I'm not supposed to touch my eyes, so
so I actually feel for our people, at least in solidarity with
Yes.
Kenyans who are and the president said it's going to be for the next 3 months.
yes.
So he's in solidarity with the jobless Kenyans who are constantly walking the streets of Nairobi and the streets of Kenya. But that one was on a lighter note. It's very much welcome if only we knew where these resources would be redirected to.
That was an announcement that we wanted to hear.
Yeah. And of course, government has machineries in place. The president pronounces himself on certain factors, and there are people who break them down now to be assimilated with the systems and structures of government. So it's very much, at least it shows selflessness on the part of leaders.
Yes.
It shows some sense of identifying with the people, identifying with the times and the seasons that we live in.
Yes.
These are very peculiar moments. And actually peculiar moments call for peculiar actions.
Yes.
So I think it's something that actually should be commended.
Yes.
And it's something that actually should be even be trickled down even to the private sector.
Yes.
I'm actually waiting to hear what the CEOs of this company and that company will say.
Yes.
Even to move and to say we stand with our country, we stand with our nation. The head of state has actually volunteered, and us even in the private sector. There are guys in the private sector that earn more than the president in a month.
Yes.
What the president takes home in a year, they take in a month.
Yes.
So I think the sense of selflessness should actually be seen across the board in our political spaces. This sense equally should actually even be seen in our religious circles.
Yes.
Some of these religious institutions hold a lot of money, more than banks. We equally need to see that, hey, in such a moment, we are all pulling in resources. We
Yes.
are all pulling in from different angles. It really doesn't matter. It could be 50,000 a month, 50,000. That 50,000 a month can go a long way.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Therefore, that now said, that the only thing that is missing exactly is how we are actually going to trace the use of these funds, therefore.
Yes.
Now, let's therefore go to where it really matters, therefore.
Okay.
Now, if you earn 24,000 shillings, then you have 100% tax relief.
Okay.
But you're only going to save 1,583 shillings.
Okay.
Good. Now, corporate tax has been reduced from 30%
Okay.
to 25%.
Okay.
We also have now hand sanitizers, electricity, and processed foods that have been also included. That and internet facilities are going to fall by 2%. That is in terms, if you look at the VAT that they're reducing, therefore from 14% to 2%.
Okay.
Now, once this was announced, some sectors also came up. We're talking about the public transport sector, which has also gone through a lot of hits, therefore, to go to understand where are we factored in this. Turns out they're not factored now, which you just prepare that story for the public transport sector before we come and talk about it, therefore. Now, do you believe that that's enough? Because if you earn above 24,000 shillings, the governments tend to think that you're okay.
Yeah, that's what they tend to think, that we're okay. But there's equally another worrying statistic.
Yes.
Kenyans who are in what we would call formal payroll is less than 2 million.
Yes.
2.5, 2.7 million Kenyans. The bulk of Kenyans, close to 40 something million, a huge portion of these are people in the informal sector, people who are either earning wages or people who, excuse me, people who are, so cushioning the less than 2.7 million Kenyans is a good thing, especially now, hata kama unaweza ka save 50 shillings.
It's
right?
important.
That 50 shillings is a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So in that government, of course, government, government equally needs to run
Yes.
on resources. And government, the fuel of government is tax, resources, cash. And we need that so that this entire machinery, this entire mechanism can equally operate.
Yes.
So it's a very good thing. It's actually welcome. We might actually try to poke holes on it, but remember, Simba, these are very peculiar times. No one anticipated for these moments like 3 months ago. So these are moments whereby we have been met with a scenario, and we really need to look, how do we work backwards, and so that we can equally mitigate and put in safety measures.
Yes.
So this is one of those areas of just putting safety measures, one for even saving livelihoods of people,
Yes.
saving people on their day-to-day. How that will have a trickle-down effect on the overall economy is another conversation for economists to come up with. But as at now, we just want to show the ordinary individual that, hey, but this is a slap on your wrist. By the itakusaidia.
Yes.
Yes, Simba.
All right, now talking about ordinary individuals, I just want us to go therefore to the public transport sector, which we tend to think houses majority of the ordinary individuals. Let's see exactly what they think. that tomorrow is actually today. They have a point, don't they?
They do, depending with what we would mean by a point.
Yes.
You know, we are in a moment whereby, and that's why we are in a point whereby we need to have a very tight balance between livelihood and maximizing on an opportunity.
Yes.
In this moment, of course, there are people who are making a kill, but in this moment, there are certain kills that if you make is actually moral.
Yes.
Let me ask, why are they giving ultimatum? Because the sound of that gentleman is within 7 days. If this doesn't happen, then we're going to do this. And the guy actually pronounced himself, this is a partial lockdown. You know, that should only come from...
But it turns again and says, it's not like we're not in support. We are fully in support. But then you can't tell us, carry this number. But then at the end of the other side, you also don't tell us, because you're going to carry this number, therefore, and we do understand that this is your livelihood, this is exactly how we're going to support you. Carry this number. That's his concern. He's actually not saying, no, we're going to do this, we are getting, no, he said we're in full support. But then, because you give other people tax reprieves, you're reducing corporate tax from 30% to 25%, VAT, from 16% to 14%. What about us? Because we rely on fuel.
Okay.
Why didn't you talk about it?
Okay.
Yes.
They have a point. They have a point.
Yes.
But if corporate tax is from such and such a percentage,
yes,
aren't they organizations? Aren't they corporate organizations? They are corporate organizations. All I'm trying to say is, of course, a shoe must pinch somewhere.
Yes.
And as at now, it might appear it is pinching on their part. But guess what? This 24,000 that comes as a reprieve, it's only 1,583 shillings.
Yes.
They're equally swallowing that. You know, because the other day, a friend of mine who lives somewhere in, what do you call it, in Umoja, told me, do you know we are paying 200 shillings? You know, so in equal measures, at some point, a pinch is being felt. And it's very bad.
Yes.
That as at now, of course, and that's the challenge that we are in.
Yes.
I wish the most honorable thing, as at now, the government would have just put in place a lockdown. A lockdown that would cushion livelihood and also cushion businesses.
Yes.
Because as at now, they're saying we have 100,000 fleet that if they come to town, there are places they're only carrying people like at 20 shillings.
Yes.
The other day, I came somewhere and they were saying from town to Yaya was 20 shillings.
Yes.
Ordinarily, it would be around 30, 40, 50 shillings during rush hour. So what we are trying to say, it makes sense. But I wish we could just have that, striking that balance between what is good and decent for livelihood and what is good and decent in making business sense.
Yes.
They are saying it does not make business sense. In this time, all we want is, can we make sense in livelihood? Can we make sense in living?
Yes.
In life? Yes.
Does it become very complicated? And I want to take you to what is happening in Kilifi there, was really understanding from that perspective. What we do know this morning, Kilifi has no public transport. Kilifi County, as we know of it, does not have public transport. The only people allowed on the roads are guys for essential services. And if you're actually selling food as a hawker, that's the only time you're allowed to be there. If only you also observe this
measures,
social distancing and hygiene as well.
Sure.
We must recognize also that as we talk about that, the majority of our economy is quite informal.
Very true.
The fear, Ogwang, is that if you say nothing is happening, then you've rendered most families totally incumbent, that they can do nothing.
Actually, the reverse is true. The government pronouncing itself on lockdown is not locking down 100%.
Yes.
Lockdown in this scenario, like I was getting a story from Italy.
Yes.
that the lockdown in Italy is one person in a family is allowed to move and to do shopping.
Yes.
For the sake of the family. So in as much as there is a lockdown in Italy, there is some reasonable sense of movement for the sake of livelihood.
Yes.
So that one cushions. The only thing that this lockdown limits is the rate at which you can be susceptible to. So that is what the lockdown is for.
Yes.
The lockdown is not like the 1982 lockdown. That one was a cool lockdown. But this lockdown that we are asking of, how we are 47 million Kenyans. How many families are there? I wish they had told us that in Kenya we have 800,000 families or 1.2 million families or 10 million families.
Yes.
So from 10 million families, we can say it makes sense per family. An individual might be allowed at these intervals to go and get supplies for the family, for the maintainers of the family. It's not a total lockdown that no one moves, nothing moves. At the end of the day, life must be sustained.
Yes.
We're just looking at in what reasonable circumstances can we sustain this livelihood.
Yes.
Yes, Emba.
Now, those gentlemen are saying this. If you're really going to talk about sort of carry this amount of percentages, then lock us down.
Yes.
Because that's exactly what he's saying.
Yes.
Because he's saying, don't make it possible for us to do businesses, but then at the end of the day, we look like we're only ones taking the hit. Because once you open the market for business, we gotta be there.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
our mandate.
Yes.
It is actually moral for
Yes,
us
yes.
to go
Yes.
and help these people to
Yes.
go to their places
But
of work.
Simba, it's what it's called a free enterprise. It's a free economy.
Yes.
I own my matatu.
Haven't they also been
Just-
urged
Simba,
to be on the road?
Simba, I
Yes.
own my
Yes.
matatu. If it doesn't make sense, what will I do? I'll just retain my matatu.
Yes.
It's a free economy. Government is not saying your matatu must be on the road. Your matatu must be on the road. Government is saying,
Yes.
if you cannot adhere to,
Yes.
then kindly do not operate. You know.
Yes.
But then they are coming up and they're saying this is an ultimatum within 7 days. If this doesn't happen, and the gentleman even pronounces himself,
Yes.
this is a partial lockdown. You know.
Yes.
In a free economy, if it doesn't make sense, there are very many people in this building whose offices are under lock and key. Why? It's not making sense. It's a free economy.
Yes.
And in a free economy, you rationalize, okay, I would wish to serve humanity. I would wish to serve my fellow Kenyans to go about their day-to-day. But if in that pursuit of me serving them actually places me at a disadvantaged point, yes?
Yes.
Then in the best interest of morality, you just say, hey, my matatu will be retained.
Yes.
Yes.
Are they coming from the point where Ogwang, you and I know now last week,
Okay.
when these measures were being put in place, there was a communication that those matatu circles and operators were using this time, therefore, to try and capitalize. Double their fares, because now it looks as if, yes, you gotta also pay for the person who's not next to you, because essentially how we make profits is that we have this as the capacity of this matatu. Now, they were told that if you actually do that, then you risk your licenses being
revoked.
cancelled.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what does it make them come out with this energy that they have right now and say, well, if you're going to cancel our licenses, then we want to also ask you a question, how do you protect us? Because that's where the question is.
How do we protect ourselves?
Yes.
But you're making, there's a point whereby we can actually take a leaf
Yes.
from what is happening in Kilifi. Government needs to protect the lives of Kenyans
Nice.
first. The rate at which spontaneity, if at all it's spontaneous,
Yes.
as at now, the rate at which people are moving across borders within counties, the
Yes.
rate at which people are moving is very high. And that one puts us at a very susceptible point that you don't know who has it, who does not have it. A cousin of mine yesterday called me and told me, hey, I'm at the village. And I'm like, are you crazy? My friend would say, are you local?
Yes.
Are you crazy? You're coming from Nairobi all the way to Homa Bay. How many points have you guys gone through? And I'm like, no, we got this. I'm like, my friend, this thing can stay in your body for 14 days.
Yes.
Are you crazy? So to that extent, the best thing that government would have done under the circumstances
Yes.
was one. Let us, if people need to move around, let people move within Nairobi. Nairobians move within Nairobi. You don't move past Nairobi. You don't even move to to Kiambu, or you don't move to neighboring counties. But equally, that one will be something that would be so much unreasonable. So the only reasonable thing under the circumstances is to pronounce a lockdown. A lockdown that every country in the world they have. But as at now, it is actually, this thing is funny. It's actually Kenyans telling government, please lock us down. You know, we don't even trust our movements. Please lock us down. But government is saying, no, 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 you guys can go about. You guys can go about. That one is leaving very many people at a point of being susceptible to contracting this. And it's a very tight rope.
Yes.
Balancing that.
Yes.
But I really wish we can develop reasonableness in locking Kenyans down for the sake of livelihood.
Yes. Now, the only conversation is, as well now that is quite open around here is how the government, therefore, is approaching this. That in case we go to a lockdown, you did see last week the Central Bank of Kenya governor coming in and announcing we'll reduce the lending rate from 8.25 to 7.25.
Okay.
And it's also in the market from World Bank and IMF to give us money that can actually be pumped back into the economy through, now this is where the talking point is, the banks. But Ogwang, everybody does know that a bank is a business. If you're stressing people with registering their businesses, with paying their taxes,
Sure.
then you do know the businesses or the number of businesses within this country. And you do know the type of hit that they're taking.
Sure.
Now, look at the hospitality sector.
Sure.
We've spoken to a lot of people in the hotel industry. They are telling us, as of March the 13th, when we had the first case in this country, business, as we do know of it, died. And the government does know that. They have these people.
Sure.
They know the hotels that have closed, and the list keeps on growing day by day.
Sure.
If the other governments are talking about economic packages,
Okay.
if the other governments are talking about handing these corporations the money that they can actually now be used to pay the salaries for these employees, who we do know now, their livelihoods are pretty much done. Isn't that the way, therefore, to go? And is the government afraid of that? Because if you talk about a total lockdown, yes, whether you like it or not, for a certain period of time, you're going to get a hit.
Let me ask Simba. We are, according to recent statistics, we have 47 million.
Yes.
What's the cost of livelihood in Nairobi? Let's put it at 50,000.
Yes.
So let's say government goes about and says, oh, we have identified, and that's why I'm saying, I'm still going back to that point. Excuse me. I wish we knew how many families we have in Kenya.
Yes.
That would have helped. So let me just go on a limb and say, out of 47 million people, we have 9 million families. The cost of sustaining an ordinary family would be, let's say, 50,000.
Yes.
So that would be 50,000 times 9 million. That would be around something like 450 trillion
Yes.
per month. Do we think our government has that type of resource? The American government can just say, we will give every family $1,000 US,
Which they have done.
which they have done.
Yes.
And this $1,000 US because the American economy is
Yes.
larger than ours.
Yes. India's done the same thing.
Yes.
Hong Kong did the same thing.
Yes.
China did the
Yes.
same thing.
Yes.
Yes. Mauritius did the same thing.
But those are mammoth economies.
Yes.
Those are not economies like ours. In our economy is only sustained by 2.7 million people. These are the people that actually are running this economy.
Yes.
2.7 million people.
Yes.
So which means, as at now, the only thing to do would be, let us give people incentives.
Yes.
Tax incentives, just like they've done. Let's cushion people, so to speak. But as at now, the most ideal thing would have been, let's lock this thing called Kenya. And let's lock it. The challenge that we have with Kenya is that Kenya is at a crossroad between capitalism and socialism. That is the entire conversation. People are having conversations like the other day when Uhuru spoke about we are putting in place these protocols for the sake, and he mentioned that the responsibility of government is
Yes.
to take care of the lives and property. You see, lives and property.
Yes.
That is equally the challenge. which one has precedence? Is it property or life? Because when you're talking about property, then you're talking about commerce. And that's why people like the transport sector, they're coming up, it does not make business sense. Why? Because they have property. The challenge here is which one has precedence? Is it that we want to harness the social well-being of our people, or do we want to harness capitalism?
Yes.
Banks are capitalists. IMF are formed by capitalists. The challenge, and the challenge is striking that balance. As at now, you would rather make money and have everyone dying?
Yes.
Or would you have people surviving and we can pick up our economy later? Economies have gone through worst depressions. This might be a depression. Actually, the economists who are calling this the worst financial depression. But guess what? Civilization has always emerged from depressions. You cannot emerge from death. So which one is more important? The death of our people or the interest of capitalism? I would tell you any day, the life of an individual is very important.
Yes.
I would rather be broke, poor, begging, but alive, than have the few of us who have capacity to survive.
Yes.
And then they kill all of us at the end of the day. Let me ask you, the gentleman who passed on, the one fatality case,
Yes.
The gentleman was an engineer, you know, with a very respectable firm.
Yes.
At the prime of his career. But he succumbed to this virus. We have lost a resource. We have lost an individual. That family has lost a father, a grandfather. So, in the best interest of decency and common sense and morality, let's do what's good for the Kenyan life. Property we can always pick up later.
All right. Now, since we're talking about property, therefore, I just want us to go for a very tiny break. Once we come back, therefore, we're looking at exactly how these measures are also going to affect your life. Now, we do know NSE is crashing. That's a good word, therefore, for it. Is it a good time to go in, or is it a good time not to go in? Because the question is, if you don't go in, then why are you going? Because, you know, just our markets that are crashing. And is it a good time, therefore, since our foreign investors, now everybody does know that 70% of our books is pretty much occupied by foreign investors. Is it a good time, therefore, for our local investors to be challenged to go in? As we talk about this, we do know that CK already has 49.99% shares in Centum. Is it time for the others to follow once we come back?